Today, we're going to share some of the things I am learning, going deeper into study with our Bible class that we're doing on the wise person following God. So the opposite of wise, of course, is a fool. And from their commentary one time, they say scorners think they know everything, and anyone who tries to teach them is only wasting their time. Quote, proud and haughty scorner is his name. That's from Proverbs 21, verse 24. Scorners can't find wisdom even if they seek it, because learning God's truth demands a humble mind and an obedient will. And scorners do not have that. They lack knowledge because they are marked with arrogance. Also, the simple or the naive person, and I know I have felt this being naive lots of times, but I'm not naive about God, but naive about other things in this world. So the simple are the naive people who believe everything because they don't have convictions about anything. When they think it's sophisticated, tolerance is only spiritual ignorance because they lack the ability to discriminate between truth and error. Quote, a simple man believes anything, but a prudent man gives thought to his steps. Unquote. Proverbs 14, verse 15. So to believe everything, to believe every word of God is faith. To believe every word of man is foolish. Wise people don't take unnecessary chances and experiment to see how close they get to the precipice without falling off. Again, that's the wise one. So the foolish person taunts disaster. From Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7, quote, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, unquote. And then going on with another quote, do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil, unquote. Fearing the Lord means respecting Him so that we obey His will and seek to honor His name. Fearing the Lord is the opposite of tempting the Lord by deliberately disobeying Him and daring Him to intervene. Again, Charlie Kirk, since that happened not that long ago, one of his main things that he brought out was to have wisdom and the fear of the Lord, to be a Christian above all else. The book of Proverbs is basically about different kinds of people, what they believe and do, and how they interact with one another. And as I read through Proverbs, the word wisdom, having wisdom, fearing God, knowing what to do, being guided by God, all of this is in Proverbs. And Solomon, he certainly wanted his people to follow God, even though he didn't do such a good job of it. But we also see those examples in him as well as in David when they sinned against the Lord. But they had God in their heart. They came to God, believe in God, have faith in God. Freedom of choice is one of the privileges that God has given us, but He instructs us and urges us to use that freedom wisely. The laws of God are guideposts to lead us on the path of life, and He watches the decisions we make and the roads that we travel. Again, that's from the Worsby Bible Study series. and it's God's guidebook to wise living. In the commentary on page 66 in Proverbs, 3 different Hebrew words are translated. There's fool, the dull and stupid fool, who is a stubborn, corrupt fool, who is morally perverted and unreasonable, the fool who is like a stubborn animal, the brutish fool. And in the summary of the characteristics of the fool, we'll combine the verses and distinguish between them. A fool's own father cannot instruct him. That's in Proverbs 15, verse 5. And if you try to debate him, it will only lead to trouble. Why? Because fools actually enjoy their folly and their way of thinking, and they want to promote it. They're not going to listen to us. Fools don't learn from mistakes. They just go right back to the same old mess. And the description that was given here, if you've ever watched a dog when it's sick and vomits, it will go back to its vomit and it will eat it up. And that's an awful, awful thought. But that's what a fool does. And how does the Bible describe a fool? Wow, it is so interesting. And it will accuse a person who is being a fool. Okay, so in Proverbs, the word fool appears 40 times in the ESV version. I'm going to call out some Bible verses and just keep reading. I won't keep saying quote and unquote. In Proverbs 10, verse 18, it teaches, whoever utters slander is a fool. The fool will speak poorly of others rather than to be known as an encourager. In Proverbs 10, verse 23, it adds that doing wrong is like a joke to the fool. A foolish person does not take sin or its consequences seriously. Proverbs 12, verse 15 says, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. So from this we know that a fool rejects advice from others and just listens to himself. Proverbs 13, verse 16 says, a fool flaunts his own folly. So in other words, a foolish person is proud of his wrongdoings. Proverbs 14:16 teaches that a fool is reckless and careless. A fool does not plan ahead, but rather lives just from one second to another, not considering the impact of his actions or his words that have on himself or others. In Proverbs 15:5, it shows that a fool despises his father's instruction. The foolish person will not listen to his parents or obey them. In fact, he spurns what his parents tell them to do. The guidance of parents, a fool will not listen. They'll just listen to their own ways, their own reasons. They'll just try to outtalk you. In Ecclesiastes 10, verse 2, the heart of the wise inclines to the right, but the heart of the fool to the left. Now, when I read that one, I thought about knowing about how Jesus is going to separate the sheep from the goats. And the sheep will be on the right, the goats on the left. So the foolish will be on the left. So many ways that Jesus, is described as guiding us and also knowing us and separating us. Some of the description of a fool is that a fool hates knowledge and takes no pleasure in understanding. They don't care about understanding what you're saying. They enjoy wicked schemes. They proclaim folly. They spurn a parent's discipline. They speak perversity. They're quick-tempered. They get themselves in trouble with their proud speech. They're just rambling and rambling, thinking they know everything that they're talking about. They mock sin. They're deceitful. The ultimate description of a fool is one who says in his heart that there is no God. They are corrupt and their ways are vile. There is no one who does good. That's in Psalms, talking about the fool, in chapter 14, verses 1, and then again in chapter 53, verse 1. Although fools can choose to become wise by heeding wise counsel, they don't do it. They don't want to listen to wise decisions, wise guidance. And again, the Bible warns us about associating with fools. In Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." In the New Testament, Jesus contrasts the foolish with the wise person. You remember how it was said that the one person built his house upon the sand, but a wise person built it on the rock. Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like the foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. So again, we encounter the word wisdom. I love that. Wisdom, just as Charlie Kirk kept telling people, to gain wisdom. Then you know what you're talking about. Those of you who out there are flaunting what you think is the truth, what you believe to be true, you have not gone to Jesus. You have not read the Bible. You have not opened your heart to God, because the truth is with God, the creator of this earth. And for those who don't believe in a God at all they have to do is look at creation. Creation happened with design of God. Look at creation, look to the heavens. Open your hearts to God.